This week in the Rochester Press Box from Salvatore's Pizzeria at the Garage Door Restaurant.
This is Jeff Diveronica from the Democrat and Chronicle. I delayed my family vacation to Florida because I thought I could be going to the Final Four with Syracuse. That was a mistake.
Hi, I'm John DiTullio. I'll tell you what Major League Baseball should do when it comes to opening day.
And I'm Mike Catalana. Deshaun Jackson to the Redskins? What could go wrong?
I'm Bill Pucko, making a Hall of Fame case for Pete Gogolak. Join us in the Rochester Press Box this weekend. The Rochester Press Box is brought to you by Salvatore's at the Garage Door, Rochester's choice winner for Best Pizzeria, featuring Wacky Wing Wednesday and the Super Slice. It's as big as your head. The games are always on at the Garage Door, home to the Rochester Press Box. Welcome into the Rochester Press Box here from Salvatore's Pizzeria at the Garage Door Restaurant on East Ridge Road in Irondequoit. I'm Bill Pucko, joined as always by John DiTullio, WHAM-TV Radio.
Billy, it's great to be here.
Yeah, it always is.
Really
Mike
is.
Catalana,
Good to be here.
only guy on the panel with his own Wikipedia page. It's like periodically to bring
That's
that
when
up.
you know when you made it.
Yes. And Jeff
that's it.
Diveronica joins us. It's now appearance number 4, Democrat and Chronicle Soccer and Syracuse University. Both of which are kind of apropos. I wanted to start with the soccer stuff, Jeff. The Rochester Lancers are making noise now. They're pulling out of the MISL.
Major Indoor Soccer League's done.
there's
The
a
whole
lot of
league is done.
There's a lot of stuff up in the air now, but it seems like all of a sudden Rochester's a major player nationally, aren't they?
Well, the guy running the Lancers is a mover and shaker, and I'm not saying that because we're in a place called Salvatore's, but Soccer Sam, if you know, think about it, he's run his entire business by, he's been his boss since he was 18 years old, and when he's going to try to run it the way he wants to run it. And he saw some things in the Major Indoor Soccer League he didn't like. Some franchises that weren't drawing fans, that weren't marketing in their communities, that weren't making the indoor game the production that it needs to be to entertain their fans. And he thought the league kind of let some of the franchises down. There are some good established franchises. The Baltimore Blast, the Milwaukee Wave, they've been around for 20 years. The Lancers have had a good foothold here in Rochester, no pun intended, in 3 years, but there's some other poor sisters in the Major Indoor Soccer League that they want to get away from those, and the league didn't expand the way they wanted to, so now they're going to try to expand themselves and bring in some other markets, maybe some West Coast teams, and get more of a national footprint for indoor soccer.
What it comes down to really, though, Sam sets his bar higher than a lot of the rest of the people he associates with, doesn't he?
Absolutely. And I think he understands, he's realistic that, hey, it's soccer. And it's indoor soccer, which makes it a little different than outdoor soccer, which can be kind of boring at times. But he also knows that it's got to be a show, it's got to be a production. People don't come just to watch what a pretty trap that is or what a great shot it is. They want to see the shirts into the crowd. They want to hear the music. They want to see the dancers. It's like, what's the NBA? The NBA is great basketball, but also everything else around it.
How sold are we on indoor soccer?
Well, I think it has potential because I think it fits our lifestyle more. Just the things that we're talking about here. Fast, music, all those things. I think the key for this is the key for all of these other leagues. It's what the Amerks have gone for them, and it's what the Red Wings have gone for them. A legitimate league that you're in. That's what fans want to see. I think the Razor Sharks have struggled with that. I mean, it's great that they're winning. I hope they win the championship. But when you're winning in a league where you're winning games by 50 points, I think you can lose a little bit with your fan base. And when you see teams fall apart, or in the past we've seen that, I think that's the key for this league. You want to win, you want to be good, but if you're in a league that looks stable and when the teams play, there's fans there, I think it's great.
People ask me why those Sharks are struggling at the gate. Mike just nailed it. It's the quality and credibility of the league.
That's the word, credibility.
Credibility of the league. And everything, Sammy is not only a smart businessman, as Jeff pointed out, he's an entertainer. He gets it. And we went to a few, I love going to the Lancer games. My family, my daughter, you can keep her entertained. Now, it's tough for the Rhinos. As Jeff said, at times it can be a little bit boring. But what the Lancers do, as good as anyone in town, and that includes the Nighthawks, they keep you entertained for about 2 hours.
What is that expression in sales? You don't sell the steak, you sell the sizzle.
Yeah, and they do a great job.
It's all about the sizzle.
You know what I really love is Sam's out there taking swings again. I mean, he had his health problems, and those are pretty much like in the past, but yeah, I mean, he's, again, shameless plug. He brings in Arthur Treachers, that hits a home run. He's back taking his cuts for soccer. He's a guy.
He's a guy that's not afraid to look stupid at times and to say things or do things that will hit or miss. And he has that kind of bold personality that, okay, it might look silly, but are people talking about it? Salvatore's.com, I mean.
And his commercials during American Idol are hilarious. I don't know the girls singing during the commercials to promote Salvatore. It's hilarious. One of the best ads going right now.
All right, I think he'll like this show, actually. Mike Catalana's going to talk little Philadelphia Eagles with us when we return. Welcome back to the Rochester Press Box here from Salvatore's Pizzeria at the Garage Door Restaurant. There are Lancer soccer clinics beginning later this month. They start April the 22nd. They'll be on Tuesday and Saturday, and they run for about a month. If you want more information, you can pick that up. They'll be in East Rochester and Gates. You can pick that up from ourlancers.com. They happen soon, so act fast on that. You're a resident Eagles expert.
Yeah.
DeSean Jackson had quite the week, didn't he?
Yeah, it's interesting what ended up happening with it. You know, the word came out a while ago that the Eagles were shopping him, and there was not a lot of teams biting. And people have to look at the reality in the NFL. You make a lot of money, you want a new contract because he fired his previous agent. His new agent wanted a new deal. So at some point, and DeSean hinted at it, he wanted a new deal. I think Chip Kelly looks at his team, and while some people don't want to see this, even Eagles fans, realizes they're not on the verge of the Super Bowl yet. They've got work to do. He did not look at DeSean as a long-term fit on that team. He didn't like the way he meshed with the other guys. All this stuff about the gangs and who he hangs around with is all kind of part of it because he never really bought into what Kelly is doing. And I think Kelly got to the point, would he have liked to have gotten something for him? Absolutely. But it got to the point where he looked at it and said, we're better off cutting him loose and building with other guys than we are with him. And I think the most telling thing of all this was the night before he was released, not a single one of his teammates, when interviewed, came out for him. They didn't say anything bad about him. They didn't say anything bad off the field. They were like, well, yeah, it's business, and if he moves on, you know, good for him. He's a really good player, and we want good players on the team. That was about the extent. I don't think he's a great teammate. Doesn't mean he's not a great explosive player. Doesn't mean he won't help the Redskins. But I think they're trying to build what they hope is a championship team, and I don't think he was part of it.
Talk about a college coach here, too. You know, Chip Kelly from college. He's not creating just a team. He's creating a culture and a program. And maybe Jackson just didn't fit into that. And like you said, I think the long-term gains wouldn't be there for the short-term.
I think he was gone at the end of the year no matter what, based on his contract, and I think it just got pushed a year earlier. Now, great for the Redskins. Not like they ever make a mistake.
Never.
It is interesting. If you'd have told me a year ago, I would have bet Riley Cooper would have been cut by the Eagles rather than DeSean Jackson. And then I look at it from the Redskins' perspective. They're swinging for the fence. They don't have a first-round draft pick this year. So basically, they're selecting DeSean Jackson with their first-round pick. That's the way I look at it. They signed Andre Roberts away from Arizona. They've got Pierre Garçon. They got to surround RG3 with some weapons. So if I'm the Redskins, Jay Gruden, it's a roll of the dice. Why not?
Sure. You got a rookie head coach. You have an owner who's tight with his quarterback who failed miserably last year. You don't have a great leadership core in that locker room. What could possibly go wrong this year with this? No, I would say this. I think he is a home run hitter. But the good franchises in the NFL backed away. Andy Reid did not want him, and he had him before. Chip Kelly got 82 catches out of him last year and cut him. If that's not a red flag, I don't know what is. And I'm not talking about the off-field stuff. I'm talking about the way he fits in a locker room, the way he fits in what teams are trying to do long term. That's why I didn't want the Bills to have anything to do with him, because they're trying to build. Plus, he isn't coming to Buffalo. But.
It's all these things that appear to be something that they're not, though. It's just like
there
for a while, DeSean Jackson was the worst thing this side of Ryan Braun.
Yeah, but because that got overblown too, I think, and all that. Now, I don't think he's buys in as a teammate. It's not just that what he's tweeting; it's that he's tweeting when most of his teammates are working out at the facility.
You got to think the Redskins are going to hit. Aren't they due to hit on someone? The Redskins?
Well, Dan Snyder has signed
Bills for 13 years.
Right?
Dan Snyder has signed 20 former Pro Bowl players in his career, and not one of them ever made the Pro Bowl after they came to Washington.
That's an unbelievable stat.
Like it or not, when we return. We are back. Thanks for joining us in the press box here from Salvatore's Pizzeria at the Garage Door Restaurant. Wacky Wings Wednesday, live music every Friday night. It's a great sports bar. Come drop by and see us. Like it or not, Tyler Ennis is going to turn pro.
I hate it. Because I don't think he's ready. I think he will be a decent point guard in the NBA at some time. I agree with what Boeheim said. He's got to get stronger. He's got to get a better shot. His feel for the game is fantastic. I think that's will be. But for Syracuse basketball, for our region, it's not good because they're not going to be. This kid coming in, Caleb Joseph, another freshman point guard. He's really good. I don't think I'll ever see a kid with that kind of feel for the game at point guard. Now, that being said, if my son or daughter is going to be able to, someone's going to give him a check for $2-3 million, how could you tell the kid no? I just think for Syracuse basketball, it's not good. For Tyler Ennis, fantastic.
So, if you think that way, there's no question that,
For the team I cover, it's not good.
He's going to get better at Syracuse? Doing what?
Yeah.
Getting stronger? You mean in the NBA where all you're doing is playing ball and you're getting paid for it and they'll assign an assistant coach to you? You mean in the NBA where you play all the time? You mean at Syracuse where very rarely does a player get better as they go along in their career? I think he'll get better in the NBA.
Yeah, what do we see? We project him something like top 10?
8 to 14. I don't think if he would have came back, he would have improved his draft stock all that much.
I agree with you.
I just don't think he would have rose up the charts. I think it's a
I
smart
think the
move on
longer
his
he
part.
stayed, and you even saw the more they needed him to score, the more some of his deficiencies were evident.
Yeah.
When he was just being a distributor, everyone loved him, and then, okay, he can't make a consistent three-point shot. That's a problem.
Yeah.
Again,
Playing his best ball at the end, I think. Though.
I think
I love seeing him drive to the hoop in those last few tournament
he said
games.
something early in the year when he was finishing at the rim, and people are saying, you're a small guy. How do you know how to finish at the rim? He said, I always played with older, bigger guys, so I had to think my way into the lane.
Yeah.
I couldn't just physical my way into the lane like a Carter Williams could. So he knew angles and brush-offs, how to get in there and score, and that will help him immensely. But he's got to shoot the ball better because people won't. You can't go by people.
Sorry. Johnny, like it or not, the multiple-tiered baseball openers.
What, the third? We had 3 opening days in Major League Baseball. You had the goofy opener in Australia a few weeks ago. Then you had the Sunday night game. Why the Dodgers got headliners twice, and then you had Monday's openers. Makes no sense. We've talked about it.
And Tuesday's openers.
And Tuesday's openers. So I guess 4 opening days in Major League Baseball. I said before, I think the Red Sox, whoever wins the World Series like they do in the NFL, should get that day or get that night to themselves and everybody follows, or go back to having Cincinnati opening day. They've been around since 1869. I think they've earned it.
God,
If you're
seems
gonna
like such an easy thing.
Well, if you're going to have interleague play anyhow, I mean, the Phillies
Yeah.
opening in Texas, why not have a rematch of the World Series to start baseball? Just make it an interleague game,
Yeah.
make that the big thing. Because baseball doesn't, as much as they pretend, they don't care about the traditions anymore. They really
They
don't.
say they do.
But they don't.
I know.
They just don't.
That's the hypocrisy.
But it would
in
help
whole
the sport
thing.
if they did. I mean, what they were opening Jeter in Houston for?
Awful.
Yeah.
I would have had the Dodgers against the Red Sox. That was the World Series we all wanted to see. I would have had Puig at Fenway Park Sunday night, raise
the
the
Cardinals
banner.
go, well, what was wrong with us?
I think that would have garnered a huge number for whatever network would have
So we
had
need
it.
the NCAA selection committee for basketball to do the schedule for Major League Baseball.
Pretty much.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mike, like it or not, Tiger Woods' pursuit of Jack Nicklaus's record.
Well, I don't like it going forward. I have to say, though, I'm hoping for Tiger because I love watching him play. I'm hoping that this settles that portion of it. He's been, even there were people thinking he was faking or pushing the thing with his back. He's got a problem with his back. He's got to get it fixed. Does he have another stage in his career? I hope for his sake he does. But when you look at it realistically, from this moment forward, he needs a Hall of Fame career to pass Jack Nicklaus. He needs a totally separate Hall of Fame career. He needs 5 more majors to pass Nicklaus. How few
at
guys
near
have
age
ever
40,
done that?
right?
Yeah, that's what's going to be tough. But maybe if he comes back, I think he's going to sit out a while. I don't think this is going to be short term.
This doesn't go away quick, and I think he might have to do another one of those swing changes because
I agree.
what he does to his body with the torque on his body, I think that's part of the reason he's been breaking down. And if anyone can do a swing change and make it a little less violent, it's Tiger Woods.
And he is immensely talented in the short game. Immensely. If he keeps the ball in the fairway, he can win on any course at any time. He doesn't have to hit the ball the farthest anymore to win. Maybe when he comes back, he'll be a different player.
Unfinished business when we return. Welcome back to the Rochester Press Box here from Salvatore's Pizzeria at the historic Garage Door Restaurant, where we have a little unfinished business. John?
You know, we have college spring football games just around the corner. In fact, Penn State's will be April the 12th, and I'm due now to give my once a year, if not maybe twice a year, Penn State thumbs up type of rant. Back in the summer of 2012, the Penn State football program was hit with unprecedented sanctions by the NCAA. These so-called experts from CBS to ESPN to Fox Sports all but buried the program. It would take at least 10 years for them to resurface and actually finish at 500. Well, enter Bill O'Brien, the Messiah, came in on the white horse, steadied the ship, saved the program, and then has handed it off to James Franklin, who is working miracles with his his first so-called recruiting class. Penn State is number 2 if you follow recruiting on Scout.com and Rivals.com. There's even now talk about lifting the bowl ban. And there's even people like myself who feel Penn State can actually win the Big Ten Conference. 2 years ago, left for dead. 2 years later, Penn State has the second best recruiting class, maybe the best quarterback in the country, and a Rochester kid named Jake Zembeck visited Penn State just last week. To quote the great Al Michaels, do you believe in miracles? Yes, I do. The program, I can't believe where it is right now, and it's only ascending. I've always said for years they were a sleeping giant, even when Joe Paterno was running the program. James Franklin now has woken the program up.
It's tremendous, because we all know how important this is to you.
If Zembeck gets there after...
Then we're all Penn State fans.
You gotta jump. You'll probably go to Notre Dame, right, Dino?
We don't air in State College, do we?
We do now.
Go ahead.
Alan's Midas is from Rochester.
I want to quote, paraphrase Ron Burgundy when I say, Abby Wambach is good. I mean, really good. That's why it still boggles the mind when people send me emails or voicemails that wonder why we cover Abby Wambach the way we do. Do you understand that no man or woman on the planet has scored more goals in international competition than Abby Wambach? No one. Man, woman, beast, whatever it is. She has the most. She's the best at her sport. We don't produce a lot of athletes here that are the best in their sport ever. She is. And she took time last week to sit down and talk to me about her career, her life, including being gay, and her future in the World Cup next year and the Olympics. And I had some ignoramus call me and leave me a voicemail saying I'm wasting everyone's time by writing about Abby Wambach. He said nobody cares. There's this thing called the internet, and when we check the page views, a lot of people do care. So next time, don't waste my time with your phone call.
A lot of people do care.
I love these people who don't care, yet they call you up to tell you they don't
A day later, too.
Yeah,
It was
call
stewing.
somebody else.
I read your article and I hated it.
I want to talk about Ryan Miller. You know, there was a lot of talk when he got traded about his legacy in Buffalo and the way he played, and he got to the Olympics this year but barely played for Team USA, and I get the way that worked out for him. But are you watching him play with the St. Louis Blues? I watched him play the other night, a shutout all the way through overtime, and in the shootout too. He was spectacular. I don't know if that Blues team can win the Stanley Cup, but I think Ryan Miller would be the reason if they do get it done. That team is got a tremendous amount of confidence playing with him, and I think Ryan Miller could end up being the guy, not quite at the level maybe of a Ray Bourque, who never won his cup in Boston and then won to Colorado and everybody celebrated him winning it. It kind of fits with Buffalo hockey these days that somebody wins a cup and then either comes back to Buffalo or celebrates with Buffalo, whether it's Patrick Kane or Dominik Hasek or one of the others. I think Ryan Miller has a real shot to do it this year. He has elevated that St. Louis team. Watch for them in the playoffs.
That was one of those guys we're all happy for, too. There's no resentment involved in there at all.
I don't think so, because he gave it his time in Buffalo, but he had to go.
I want to try to make the Hall of Fame case, professional football Hall of Fame case for guys no chance to get in. In 1964, the Buffalo Bills had a pretty good draft. They drafted 2 Hall of Famers that year, Carl Eller and Charlie Taylor. They didn't get either one of them. They signed with the NFL teams at that time. The AFL and the NFL were separate. So what the Buffalo Bills did is they settled on signing a free agent named Pete Gogolak. Gogolak had been at Cornell, where he had made a name for himself as being a soccer-style field goal kicker, and he was pretty good at it. The Bills, of course, knew of him geographically from Ithaca, and they signed him as a free agent. Gogolak went on to lead the American Football League in field goal kicking in 1964 and 65 and won 2 championships with the Bills. In 1966, he jumped ship and went to the New York Giants. The leagues had an informal agreement at that point that they weren't going to poach what it was called, the other league's players. Gogolak was the first one. The handwriting was on the wall. Ralph Wilson and Carol Rosenblum from the two leagues saw it. They got together and the merger was born. And the NFL, as we know it now, was created largely due to the fact that Pete Gogolak was stuck there in the middle as the linchpin of the merger. Well, Gogolak then went on to play 10 years for the New York Giants, and even as we speak, he is the all-time leading scorer for that team. He's on the Ring of Honor for the team. So, he's played on 2 championship teams. He's in the Ring of Honor, all-time leading scorer for the New York Giants. He instigated the merger and revolutionized the art of field goal kicking. By 1986, there wasn't a single remaining head-on kicker. Hall of Famer, Pete Gogolak. Go get him. We record the Rochester Press Box here from Salvatore's at the Garage Door every Wednesday afternoon at 12:30. We invite you to come down, watch the show, say hello to the guys, have a little lunch. Thanks as always, John,
Good stuff.
Mike, Jeff, good job. Thank you for joining us. We'll see you next week.